Hello, my name is Jasmine Johnson and I work for Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources here at Camp Earl Wallace. And welcome to Virtual Camp. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about outdoor survival. We're going to talk about some basic first aid skills, what needs to go in your outdoor survival kit when you do go out into the woods, and then we're going to build a lean-to shelter. We're going to build it inside and outside, and then also we're going to talk about some different maps and how to use a compass, so some different navigation skills. Now we are going to talk about some basic first aid skills. Here with me, I have...
My name is Gutzeit. I'm a conservation educator with the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources here at Camp Earl Wallace. And I think Jasmine's got some great survival skills and tips for us today.
All right, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is bleeding. Say you go out into the woods, maybe you fall or you trip and you cut your arm, what you need to do, those steps. So Mr. John here is going to be my guinea pig. He goes out into the woods and he falls and cuts his arm. What we need to do. The first thing that we need to do is we want to apply direct pressure. Now, if you do have a first aid kit, you should have gauze pads in those. If you do not, a piece of clothing or a bandana, if you have that, would work fine too. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this bandana on here, and then I'm going to ask Mr. Gutzeit to apply direct pressure.
Now, Jasmine, if I bleed through this gauze, should I take it off and get a new one?
No, you want to just get another piece of cloth and put that other piece of cloth on top of the first one. And you're going to keep doing that until you can kind of get control of the bleeding.
Good to know.
All right, so now we are going to wrap up the wound to apply that direct pressure so he doesn't have to stand there and hold it all the time. Now, when you're tying it, you want to make sure that you are tying it, on the wound, but you don't want to tie it too tightly because then it's going to stop the blood flow to his fingers, and we don't want that to happen to him. So you just want to make sure that it's pretty snug. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use a triangle bandage to keep it elevated above his heart so the blood flow isn't getting to that wound. Now, if you don't have a triangular bandage, you can use another bandana if you have that, or maybe a piece of clothing or another piece of cloth.
Okay, I'll help you out here.
Thank you, thank you.
And place this a little bit elevated to where it's comfortable and close to the chest.
Then we'll go around. We are going to tie it back here around his neck. And then right here, so his elbow's not slipping out, we can tie a knot. Or if you have some safety pins, you can do that too. Now we're going to talk about your outdoor survival kit, the things you need to take if you do go out on an adventure or a hike. Say you don't have, this little nifty outdoor survival little fanny pack. If you just have a regular fanny pack or even a grocery bag or a backpack, that would work just fine to put your stuff in. Now, the two most important items in your survival kit is going to be your water purification system and your pocket knife. Pocket knives are very useful. They have all kinds of little gadgets on there that you can use in different situations. This life-proof straw, what you can do is you just pop it open and you can drink right out of a creek or a stream. But the best way to purify your water is going to be by boiling it over the fire. That's going to kill everything in the water. Just make sure you let the water cool down first before you drink it. Some other items that you want in your survival kit is probably some extra food. Now, say you do get lost, you don't want to eat this all at once. You want to make sure that you leave some over time because you don't know how long that you're going to be out there. Next thing is we do have some matches. Now, if you have matches, you want to make sure that you put them in a waterproof container. So in case it rains or you fall in a creek or a river, they're not going to get wet and you still have fire. Or you can carry lighters. A flashlight in case it gets dark, you can see. We have different kinds of compasses that you can use, and also a whistle. Now, a whistle is important. If someone was around or maybe you were hurt and you can't move, you can blow this whistle 3 times. The international emergency sign for distress is 3 of anything, so 3 whistle blasts. And then also we have soap in here because soap is the #1 antiseptic. So if you do get a cut, you can clean that out and it won't get infected. When you guys are making your outdoor survival kits, I want you guys to draw your matches and your pocket knife. Now we're going to demonstrate how to build a lean-to shelter outside, and then we're also going to demonstrate how to build one inside just in case you don't have the materials to build one outside. First thing you want to do is you want to find a sturdy tree. You want to make sure that it isn't dead. That wouldn't be good. Maybe a storm blows through during the night. That dead tree may fall on top of you, so make sure it's good and sturdy. You want to find a really long, skinny stick to span between these 2 trees. And now we're going to demonstrate how to build it. Now that we have this across, we're going to take our little sticks and lean them against this sturdy little log.
When choosing a roof covering, you can use any kind of plant material, but you may want to be able to identify some of the local plants, like a pawpaw, because they've got big, thick leaves that can keep some rain off of you, keep the moisture off. So, you go out and cut off a couple of these leaves, or a couple of these compound leaves here. Work that into your thatch, into your top of your roof. That'll protect you for the night. After you've got your lean-to adequately waterproofed from the top, you also want to protect yourself from the ground, which is going to take that heat away from your body. So if you need to spend the night in a lean-to, you want to find some kind of pine needles or some kind of bedding to keep you up off that ground. It's going to keep you a lot warmer if you have to spend all night outside. So get a bunch of these, spread them out through the bottom, maybe a little more than that for your actual lean-to, but it's going to make you a lot more comfortable and keep you from getting too cold.
You can also use leaves, or you could also use moss to keep you insulated from that ground. Another thing that you guys can use, usually first aid kits will have this, is an emergency blanket. What you can do is lay that down there. You can use it as a blanket or like a little sleeping bag, and you'll probably feel like a little potato and some tin foil. Now we're going to demonstrate how to build a shelter inside using couches and a blanket, just in case you guys don't have a yard or trees or anything like that to build the outside lean-to shelter. So now I'm going to demonstrate how to build it. And now I have my inside shelter. Now you guys can get creative with this, building your shelters, as long as you guys have permission from your guardians. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about navigation. One thing that you guys need to know is the sun sets in the west and it rises in the east. Another way that you guys can get around is by using a compass. Now, using a compass, you want to know that magnetic north and true north, they differ a little bit. And we have a few maps here to show you, and Mr. Gutzeit's going to help me with that.
Thanks, Jasmine. One of the most important things when you're using your maps is to know the area that you're about to go to. Make sure you're familiar with the terrain, and you let somebody know where you're going, when you'll be there, and when you plan on being back. The maps that we typically use are called topographical maps. We have lines that will tell you where the ground is going to be more steep or more flat. Now, a good way to mentally picture this or visualize this is if you have a pen and your hand. What you can do is when you make your hand into a fist, your knuckles create little mountains. And you want to draw a small little circle on top of that mountain. And then a larger circle further down. If you want, you can do a larger circle further down around that. So you can see my tallest middle knuckle would be my biggest mountain. When I flatten my hand, that's basically what a topographical map is. So if you look in comparison, we know where the circles are on top of the mountain is going to be the tallest point. So right here, if you see, there's 1,100 feet of elevation. And the closer together these lines are, the steeper that hill's going to be. Right here, if you're going down really gently, where the lines are very far apart, each one of those lines dictates 50 feet of elevation drop. So if they're very close together, those 50 feet of elevation drop are coming a lot quicker.
And now that we've talked a little bit about navigation, you guys are going to have to create a map where you start from one point of your yard or your house and draw a map to your shelter.